Coach, what do you think are the questions that are usually asked during the data science interviews? Because I know you've been in both sides of the spectrum. So, what are the questions which are really common that are asked, which can be, helpful for somebody who's maybe just about to sit for an interview in a few days?
In terms of question, typically when you're applying for a data science role across industries, you have your interviews, scheduled in different rounds, obviously, and majority of them are technical rounds. So when we talk about the technical rounds, it's split, in various sections. There can be one or two rounds, initial rounds, which are centered or they're revolving around the coding aspect, to understand how much coding do you know. You will have SQL coding challenges, Python coding challenges. You will be given a certain amount of time, and you will be expected to complete or at least walk them through whatever your progress has been in terms of that coding challenge, whether you've been able to complete it or not. So, you will have one or two rounds around the SQL and Python coding. Um, then you can expect, if you're in a data science applying for a data scientist role, you can also expect rounds around machine learning, statistics, and if you've mentioned of deep learning, then you can have questions around that. For example, let's take an example of a basic profile where a person has mentioned has done projects around linear regression, logistic regression. You have projects around clustering, customer segmentation, something of that sort. So definitely you can expect questions if you're talking about linear regression. So what are the assumptions of linear? And these are the basic questions. What are the assumptions of linear regression? What is the cost function? What do you mean by a loss function? What do you mean by a bias? What is variance? What is overfitting? What is underfitting? What are the different kind of errors? How do you evaluate a linear regression model? What are the different regularization parameters that you can use in a linear regression? What is the difference between those regularization parameters? So these kind of questions you can expect when you write that you worked on a linear regression problem in the CV. For example, if you've written logistic regression, it's a classification problem. You've written logistic regression. So you can expect things around how did you evaluate your model? Did you use confusion matrix? What is a confusion matrix? What is a type 1 error? What is a type 2 error? Then you can have things around what is F score? What is an ROC AOC curve? What do you mean by log odds in logistic regression? What is maximum likelihood estimation? So such things you can expect around, what is a sigmoid curve? So you can expect such questions around logistic regression. So likewise, even if you are writing basic stuff around, say, you have done a tree-based model. So for example, you've worked on decision tree or random forest, then, what are the different, what is the difference between a decision tree random forest? Why is a random forest as a model preferred over a decision tree? What is entropy? What is information gain? How do you calculate that particular entropy given a data? They can even give you a scenario where they'll give you a mock data and they will expect you to calculate the entropy. How is a root node, how do you get a root node for a decision tree? Things like that. So you can expect such kind of technical questions when you're in the next phases of the interview where they're more centered around machine learning models and all that. And this are the kind of questions you can face when you're in the basic, stage where you've written, basic machine learning models in your resume. You can face such questions. If you've written questions around, if you've written, sorry, a model around clustering, for example, so you can expect questions, basic questions. If you've done k-means clustering, hierarchy clustering, you can expect questions around what is an elbow method, what's a sellout score, what do you mean by, in hierarchy clustering, what are the different linkage methods, what is the difference between the two, what are the kind of distances, right? What is the difference between a city block distance, a Manhattan distance, and all that. So depending upon what kind of projects you've done, you can expect such kind of questions. But ensure whatever model you're working on and you've written in your resume, you need to know it to the math of that model. You can't be just scratching the surface. If I'm putting it right, you can't be just like knowing things from an overview point of view. If you're applying for such roles, you need to know things in depth, whatever you've written in your resume. So that's going to be majorly around our next few rounds around machine learning and all of that. If you claim, or if you say that you know statistics, then you can have a few hypothesis testing questions, inferential statistics. Basically, you can have a few inferential statistic questions. Few companies also have probability questions. They have logical puzzles as well as a part of interview. And towards the end, if you clear all these rounds, you will have questions coming from a business standpoint, right? What is the kind of things that can be applied from a data science perspective if this is a business problem that you have to solve. So from a business standpoint, how comfortable are you to get data science to solve the business problem? So that skill of yours will be tested around that round. So it's going to be more of managerial director level rounds, so you can expect such kind of questions at that round. So yeah, so to summarize, you can see a mix of technical, which is maybe if you have 8 to 9 rounds of interview. For example, if you have 10 rounds of interview, you can expect 6 technical rounds, then a few business level rounds, and then you'll have 1 or 2 HR rounds.